I wanted to share my workspace that I use for 3D printing. This is basically a giant entertainment center that I salvaged from an office I used to work at that was being remodeled, and brought it home and put it in my garage. This nook is where I imagine a 36-inch CRT used to be, but it makes a really good workbench for a computer and the printer. These are tools they use constantly. It's the scraper that came with the printer for prying parts off the bed. Digital calipers, you need to measure the filament for some settings to get them right. That's 1.75 millimeter filament is usually something else like 1.68. Some nippers to trim the melted ends off the filament that you pull out of the extruder. I found these in the beading section at Michael's, and they can actually trim flush with the surface, which is great for getting rid of little strings and blobs. This is the Solidoodle toothbrush for cleaning out the gear of the extruder if you get a jam. And these are the tweezers that came with the printer. I'll be using this to pull filament and plastic off the bed and the extruder in places where you don't want to get burned. And then a sharp X-Acto is a must. It's really good for cleaning up all the little bumps and strings and things that you often find on a part. And then I've got a little caddy. I've got my hex drivers for leveling the bed, a couple other things for scraping off parts. I've got a feeler gauge. And then down here where the VCR used to be, my little nut top, little atom-based computer that I use as a dedicated controller for the printer, so I don't have to tie my laptop up for hours at a time in a long print. I have a heat gun. If I get impatient for the bed to heat up, I'll help it along with the heat gun, but being careful not to blow any hot air on the acrylic because it's really easy to get that softened up and too hot, so just try and keep it right on the bed. And I have a webcam. Sometimes I'll set that up so I can check on the progress of a print without coming into the garage. I can just stream that to my phone and see where it stands. And then I have a couple of fans I'm going to play with later for cooling the plastic as it's printed. And then down here is where I keep my filament. It's important to keep filament dry because it'll absorb water and it'll cause problems in printing. And because my garage is climate controlled, I try and keep it sealed up. I also have a dehumidifying rod. This is made to go in gun safes to keep moisture off of guns. And then I have some PLA that I haven't used yet. They're still in the bags, shipped with desiccant to keep them dry. But one reason why I want to keep the tub here instead of just keeping everything in bags is the way I have my spools set up. I found these great hooks on Thingiverse, and I can just make up a hanger for every spool out of PVC. It's just cheap and easy. And when I want to change out a color, all I do is lift one off and then put the other one on, and then I just drop it as is straight back into the tub. And the printer comes with this spool on the back, but the problem with that is the spool turns this way, but the filament has to come up to the side, and it's easy to get tangles. If you don't have a wall handy, then it's good to have something attached to the printer. But I think a good project later might be to make some sort of a filament guide that can come off of the hole and make sure that the filament is being pulled straight in the direction of the reel and not sideways. And then over here is the last project I just did. I added a dial indicator to help me with leveling the bed, and I designed this handy mount that just clips right onto the bolts on the front of the extruder. And this is something I'll be covering in a later blog. I just about got this finished. And I really like the way this mount turned out, and I want to play with using that also to mount a fan that I can use to blow cool air directly on the plastic right as it is extruded, which is something that's going to be important for printing in PLA.